Greetings all. I apologize for the lateness of this video as we've burned through most of day 6, but welcome to Assorted Manufacturers Day, or it seems that way anyway, since they are showcasing Argo, Consolidated Outland, Greycat, and Kruger. The big news of the day, of course, was the SRV being released by Argo. I'm sure it will be causing mayhem in the near future as it will be towing things it should and shouldn't be all over the place. Also, we received our daily Warbond, which is the Mole. At a $315 starting price and a discount price to $295, it is the highest price upgradable Warbond we've been given during the event so far. The best anchor point for this ship is going to be the Vanguard Harbinger at $290. You can see right here. This will of course cost you the typical $5 that we've been doing for all of our CCUs wherever we could. The Harbinger is not always available, so as we talked about in the Day 4 video, you'll want to attach the Harbinger to another ship of lesser value before the end of the event or wait for it to become available again. I myself will be waiting till at least the finale to deal with that. Getting back to the SRV release, I was pleasantly surprised to see that the Warbond version of this ship could be upgraded inside of a chain. So we have another usable Warbond in that regard. Your best anchor point for this is going to be the Razor, just like we did for the Vulture. We will also be looking to attach the Razor to one of the Anvil ships at the $140 range. Either the Ballista or the Hornet Tracker, as they are always available. Also, I want to issue a correction. Yesterday's video I said today would be Anvil Day, but it's tomorrow. So no reason to rush in attaching the Razor to anything in case we get further discounts. Now before we get into the CCU chain impacts of today's releases, I want to have a brief talk about ship insurance, in particular lifetime insurance or LTI. I promise there's a nugget about the storm in this you'll want to know if you don't know already. First off, insurance will not be an issue in the game until the game quote-unquote releases. And we all have free insurance until that time. Every time you claim a ship at the ASOP terminal, you're exercising that free insurance. After the release, it's meant as something you'll have to pay for with in-game money. Ships in the pledge store normally come out with 6 months insurance to start with, and after release, if it runs out, you'll have to pay the in-game price of the ship to get it back, meaning no real money. And also, you never lose a pledge, so don't be afraid of that. During events, better insurance is offered though. For example, anything marked IAE in the standalone ship section typically comes with 120-month or 10-year insurance. There's always at least one small ship or vehicle, though, that is offered with lifetime insurance. We typically call this an LTI token, and we often pick them up as the starting point or seed to begin a CCU chain. If you start a chain with an LTI token, that insurance will carry through to the final ship. The Cutter Scout, as you see here, is basically your typical LTI token. In the standalone store, the Warbond offering is typically the cheaper one. It requires new money to buy instead of store credit, and it typically offers lifetime insurance. The Storm also served that function, with a better discount at a higher price point when it was first offered in concept. The pertinent part here is, even though it's out on Warbond, it is only offering 10-year insurance during this event. The Storm AA, though, does carry lifetime insurance, as this is the first time it has been placed in the pledge store. This brings us to our Day 6 chart. I've placed the Storm AA here as an option, even though it occupies a higher price point where the Storm sits. You'll use one or the other. Many players view 10-year insurance as effectively being LTI, but if you want to be sure your end goal ship has lifetime insurance, you may not want to start your chain with the Storm. If you've been picking up $5 daily CCUs and waiting for the finale, this shouldn't be a problem, but something you do need to be aware of if you weren't already. I have also incorporated the SRV into the chain, which works well in concert with the A1 Spirit. if you picked up an A1 to Saber Warbond based on previous videos, it's still good here. Throw in the mole daily deal at the end, and our max discount at $320 and above is now $85. Looking at the full event chain, the Saber has been moved out in favor of the SRV. That's not a problem for reasons I'll get into in a minute. The mole and SRV have made their impact felt, however, and our max discount past $315 is $120. So I wanted to bring back the Eclipse example we previously used to go over some of the impacts of what we've talked about tonight. First off, the difference between these two charts is the incorporation of the Storm AA instead of the Storm. Aside from the whole insurance impact, it does shift $10 more from being able to use store credit to definitely needing new money, but the total spend is the same in the end. Also, you'll see that we are using SRV to Saber to bridge over to Saber to A1 Spirit in both of these. And here's why I say that if you picked up that Saber Warbond deal before, it's not a problem. You spent $5 on it. If you don't want to keep it, you can melt it and use it to bridge this $5 gap here between the SRV and the Saber. And then you're right back to using Saber to A1 Spirit. Also, I wanted to leave an example of different ways you can bridge gaps in your CCU chain. We're using the same example, although we started with the AA in both, the Storm AA. On one of them, we went straight from the C1 Spirit to the Razor to the SRV because we've anchored the SRV off the Razor. And in the other one, I've shown where we can split it out even further. You go Spirit to the Hornet Tracker to the Razor, because remember the Hornet Tracker is an always available ship, and then the Razor to the SRV. And the reason I'm doing it this way is unless there's a price increase on the Spirit later on, and they just had one, so probably not. The part here where you go C1 Spirit to Hornet Tracker, now that you're attached to an always available ship, can be done at any time. You can wait till after the event and lob in this last $15 at any point you want, because you already have the Spirit in this chain, and the Hornet Tracker is always available, and then you would have the rest of these in the chain. So just wanted to point that out as a technique. Sometimes you can get burned if they have a price increase, but again, the Spirit in this case just had one. I'm not necessarily suggesting you do that. You could just close the gap and accept your current discount, but I wanted to at least demonstrate this technique for future reference. One last little tidbit I'd like to drop in here. During the Best in Show Day, which will be coming in a bit, we usually get Warbond discounts on the Best in Show ships. And this year, it's the 600i Explorer, the Redeemer, the Vulture, which we just had as a daily deal, and the Corsair. And I just wanted to show this for now. These are predictions, somewhat based on what's happened in previous years with some of these similar ships. I'm not going to get too far into it. We'll obviously discuss it on Best in Show Day, but I wanted you to be aware as you're building your chains, some of this might be floating out here. And that's it for today. I know this was a dense one, but I had a lot of stuff I wanted to talk about, and hopefully it wasn't overly long. Appreciate you hanging with me. Take care, everyone.